She accused him in front of everyone, called him a liar, and told the whole class his dad wasn't important, that he was just making up stories to get attention. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, is that in less than an hour, the door to that classroom would swing open, soldiers would step inside, and the man she mocked as imaginary would walk in wearing 4 stars on his shoulder, looking for his son. If you're part of the Black Visionaries family, hit that like button right now and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories like this one. Where are you watching from? She leaned over my desk, eyes blazing, and said loud enough for the whole class to hear, "Your dad is not a 4-star general. Stop lying for attention." Every kid at the tables around me turned to stare. A couple of boys in the back snickered. My face got hot, my hands started shaking, and all I could say was, "I'm not lying, ma'am. He really is." She crossed her arms like she'd already decided who I was. "I am tired of these stories. Until you bring real proof, don't you ever mention that again." I wanted to disappear under the desk, but what she didn't know was that in less than an hour, the classroom door was going to open, soldiers were going to step in, and the entire room would go dead silent when the man she called a fantasy walked in wearing 4 shining stars on his shoulder and said, "I'm here for my son." Before we dive in, please subscribe for more stories like this, as it means the world to us, and comment your country so we know where our family's growing. My name's Jordan, I was 12 at the time, and this all started when I transferred to a brand new middle school halfway through the year. My mom and I had just moved to be closer to the base where my dad was stationed. He was overseas, so for a while, it was just the two of us in a small apartment with boxes still taped up in the hallway. First day of school, I walked into Ms. Keller's 6th grade class. She was one of those teachers who liked everything neat. Perfect rows, nobody talking above a whisper, homework written in 3 different marker colors on the board. I was the new kid, the only black kid in that class, and I could feel everybody sizing me up before I even sat down. When we went around the room doing introductions, kids were saying stuff like, "My dad's an accountant, my mom's a nurse, my parents own a bakery." When it was my turn, I stood up and said, "My dad's in the army. He's a 4-star general, but he's deployed right now." The room got quiet for a second, then the kid behind me laughed. "Yeah, right, bro, sure he is." Another boy added, "What? Is he also an astronaut?" I looked at Ms. Keller for backup, but she just gave this tight little smile and said, "We don't need to exaggerate to impress people, Jordan. It's okay to be honest." That was the first time she basically called me a liar. And once it started, it didn't stop. Every time something came up about parents or jobs, someone would say, "Hey Jordan, tell us another story about your general dad." And the class would laugh. Ms. Keller never really shut it down. If anything, she acted like I brought it on myself. A couple weeks later, the principal announced career day. Parents could come in, talk about their jobs, and answer questions. Kids started bragging about who was coming. My dad's bringing his firefighter gear. My mom's bringing cupcakes from her bakery. I went home that day buzzing with hope. I hopped on a video call with my dad. His connection was choppy, sand-colored tints in the background. And I said, "Dad, there's career day next month. Do you think you could come?" He paused, checked something on his phone, then smiled. "I'm scheduled to be back stateside that week. If I can get clearance and a driver, I'll be there. But let's keep it a surprise, okay?" I could barely sleep for days. I imagined him walking in, the whole class seeing I'd been telling the truth the entire time. But at school, things got worse. One afternoon, during group work, the same kid, Tyler, said, "So, General Jordan, when's your imaginary dad visiting?" His little crew laughed. I snapped, "He's coming on career day. You'll see." Of course, Miss Keller heard that part. She marched over and asked, "What's this about, Jordan?" Tyler said, "He's saying his dad's a 4-star general and he's coming here. He keeps making things up." Instead of asking me calmly, she folded her arms. "Jordan, we have talked about this. Lying is not how you make friends. If this is another story, there will be consequences." My chest tightened. "Ma'am, I'm not lying. He said he's coming at 11 o'clock on career day." She shook her head in disbelief. "Enough. If your father is really who you say he is, your mother can email me directly. Until then, stop telling tales." That night, my mom got a message from the school. She read it at the kitchen table, eyebrows pulling together. "They think you're making your dad up?" I stared at my plate. "They say I'm lying about what he does." Mom set the phone down, took a breath, and said, Your father has spent his whole life serving this country. You never have to feel ashamed of that. Let them think whatever they want for now. Your dad will handle the rest when he gets here." Career day finally arrived, and my stomach had butterflies and bricks at the same time. Parents started coming in with poster boards and boxes. A construction worker with a hard hat, a nurse with a stethoscope, a guy with a laptop talking about coding. At 10:30, the classroom was buzzing. Miss Keller moved around like a talk show host, hyping every parent up. Every time someone walked past the door, Tyler would lean over and whisper, "Is that him, General Jordan? Oh wait, no stars, just a janitor." His friends cracked up. I kept glancing at the clock. 10:45, 10:50, 10:55. My fingers were sweating on the edge of my desk. What if Dad got delayed? What if his flight changed? What if he couldn't make it, and I really did end up looking like a liar in front of everyone? Miss Keller noticed me staring at the door. "Jordan, eyes up here, please," she said, voice sharp. "We're listening to Mr. Shaw talk about accounting." I forced myself to look at the board, but my heart was pounding. When Mr. Shaw finished, Miss Keller clapped her hands. "All right, class, we have time for one more guest. It appears that some of the people who signed up couldn't make it," she added, looking straight at me. "That happens when people exaggerate." The room followed her gaze. Tyler smirked. "Guess the general got lost," he muttered. I felt this burning mix of anger and humiliation. I wanted to yell, to walk out, to do anything but sit there. Instead, I swallowed hard and said, "He's coming." Miss Keller's patience snapped. "Jordan, that is enough. You have made the same claim over and over with no proof. It is disrespectful to your classmates and to the families who actually showed up today. I don't know what's going on at home, but you can't just invent stories about important people to make yourself feel better." Her words hit like a slap. She wasn't just calling me a liar. She was saying my dad, all his sacrifices, didn't exist. And then it happened. There was a knock on the classroom door. Not a timid tap, 3 firm, solid knocks. The kind that make a room go quiet without anyone knowing why. Miss Keller frowned, annoyed at the interruption. "Yes?" she called, walking over and pulling it open. The hallway behind her filled with uniforms. First came 2 soldiers in camouflage, standing straight, eyes alert. And between them stepped a tall black man in a perfectly pressed dress uniform, medals lined up across his chest, for shining stars on his shoulders catching the fluorescent light. For a second, nobody breathed. The room just froze. He scanned the class, then his eyes landed on me. His serious expression softened into a proud smile. "I'm looking for my son, Jordan," he said. A couple kids actually gasped. Tyler's chair squeaked as he sat up. I stood, legs shaking, and managed, "H here, sir." Dad stepped into the room, the soldiers waiting by the door. Up close, you could see the lines on his face from years of command and worry, but his eyes were warm. He put a hand on my shoulder. "Did I miss my time slot?" he joked. I heard whispers all around me. "Oh my gosh, he really is a general. Bro, look at all those medals." Miss Keller's face went completely pale, then bright red. She stared at the stars on his uniform like her brain was trying to reboot. "Gee, General, we weren't informed." My dad gave her a polite nod, but there was steel in his voice. "Ma'am, I apologize for any confusion. I emailed the school office as soon as I landed. I was told this was my son's classroom." The principal suddenly appeared behind him, out of breath, clearly having rushed down the hall. "General Harris, yes, of course, please come in. We're honored to have you," he said, shaking my dad's hand about 3 times. Dad squeezed my shoulder gently, then turned to the class. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Jordan's father. I serve as a 4-star general in the United States Army. My job is to lead the men and women who protect this country, and to make sure they all get home to their families." He spoke simply, not bragging, just stating facts. The whole room was glued to him. Even Tyler looked like his brain had left his body. Dad talked about teamwork, responsibility, and how he started as a young soldier no one had heard of. "I didn't get these stars by being perfect," he said, tapping his shoulders. "I got them by learning from mistakes, never quitting, and treating people with respect, no matter what they look like or where they come from." When he said that last part, his eyes slid, just for a second, toward Miss Keller. She swallowed hard. After he finished, he asked, "Any questions?" Hands shot up everywhere. "Do you ever get scared? How heavy is your uniform? Have you ever met the president?" He answered everything with patience, even cracked a few jokes that made the class laugh. The same kids who called me a liar were now trying to get as close as they could, eyes shining. When the bell rang for lunch, the principal thanked him about 5 more times, and the soldiers stepped back into the hallway. Most of the class rushed out, still buzzing. Tyler lingered near my desk, avoiding eye contact, then finally muttered, sorry, man. I didn't know." I shrugged, still processing everything. "Yeah, okay." And just like that, the truth walked through the door and shut every doubt down. If this story touched you, make sure you're subscribed to the Black Visionaries family and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. More powerful stories are on the way. Don't miss the next one.